We're now calling to order our City of Daly City regular City Council meeting on Monday, July 22nd, 2024. For public participation, there are 3 ways to submit public comments. Number 1, submit written comments by the meeting day. 2, submit written comments during the meeting. And 3, attend the meeting in person. To submit written comments by the meeting day, please email cityclerk@dalycity.org and include public comment in the subject line. All written comments received by 4 p.m. on the meeting day will be provided to the City Council prior to the meeting. Please note any emailed comments received after 4 p.m. on the meeting date are not guaranteed to be received by the City Council prior to the meeting. Comments are not read aloud into the record. 2, during the meeting, you may visit www.dalycity.org/agendas to submit comments using the public comment form to address the City Council on a specific item. Or during the public comment period, such comments are delivered to the City Council and City staff during the meeting and may be read into the record at the time that they are received. 3, to speak at the meeting in person, please complete a speaker card located at the entrance of the council chamber and submit it to staff as early in the meeting as possible. At this time, may we all stand for the pledge of the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Ms. DiGiovanni,
Present.
Dr. Rod,
Present.
Ms. Perano,
Present.
Mr. Sylvester,
Glenn Sylvester, present.
Ms. Manalo.
Present. Thank you very much. No, the first thing on our agenda today is something very special. The Daly City, Uzumazano City, Sister Cities, Kita City ceremony. We were able to do our celebration with our mile marker celebration, as well as signing officially an agreement to be sister cities with Uzumazano City. And so today is a special day because Uzumazano City is our second sister city with the city of Daly City, and something so special. I want to welcome again to our city council chambers now. We've been at City Hall the whole day, but we are now in our city council. So Mayor Hirashu Chimamutsu, thank you, Chimamutsu, thank you so much. Executive Director General Honori Sakakami, and Director of International Exchange Division Kunihiko Tanaka. Senior Staff in International Exchange Division, Risa Kanda. We also have our interpreter, Ms. Shirai. And from our Consul General of Japan in San Francisco, Deputy Consul General Jimmy Kishimori. Thank you very much. We have Staff of Political Affairs, Kevin O'Donnell. Thank you very much. And with the Sister Cities International, we have Carlo Capua, and we have Meg Mizutani. And with our also Consul General of the Philippines in San Francisco, welcome with your contingent here celebrating this momentous occasion. We have Consul Jed Martin Leona, Consul Rowena Pangilinan Dagipil, Vice Consul Adrian Bakay, Vice Consul Hannah Go, and Cultural Officer Christine Clasada Stelyertz. Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge all the city staff that has worked really tremendously on our sister city, making sure it's official, all the hard work that you all have done. I see in the audience we have our longstanding community leader, Personnel Board Commissioner Perla Abarrientos. And we also have our Arts and Culture Commissioner, Elizabeth Espinda. Thank you very much. And then we have former Millbrae Mayor Wayne Lee. And we have such a treat today because, we talked a lot earlier today with some of the contingency from the Consul General of Japan, Izumazano City, with Mayor Chimatsu around the next generation. So, in our audience today, to also witness this beautiful ceremony, we have our API caucus of San Mateo County interns. And so we have the young people also to witness this today. And I'd like them to also wave, so to witness this beautiful moment in our community. Thank you for being here. Okay, and so I call him brother, brother Mayor Chimatsu. I'd like to present this to you. We'll be right here. So Mayor Chiyomatsu, this is the key to the city of Daly City. For those of you in the audience right now, he lived in Daly City. Mr. Mayor lived in Daly City and saw the Daly City culture, experienced Daly City culture, and when he became mayor, he wanted to reach out and ensure that we became the first sister city in the United States of America with their city in Izumazano City. And so it's really so precious that he got to live in our community, see how diverse and welcoming our city is, and came back. He says, he's coming back to home away from home. And so with that, this is the key to the city of Daly City, presented on July 22nd, 2024 to Izumazano City, Japan.
Thank you so much. This camera over here. Thank you so much.
I give you the color. Would you like to? And this is actually done from the seal was done from our library director, who engraved it specifically.
Wow.
Yeah. With the idea of our city manager. So. Yeah, you can speak. Are you good here? You can also. Versatile. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I am Hiroyasu Chiyomatsu, Mayor of Izumizano City. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude for the warm welcome on our visit for the Sister City signing event between Daly City and Izumizano City. Despite the city council meeting is in session, as mayor, I am truly happy for the Izumizano City to become a sister city with Daly City. Thank you for Mayor Jocelyn Manaro and the member of Daly City Council members. I am. I have not experienced such an honorable ceremony in Japan. So I'm very happy now. I don't know key to the city means, but when I looked into it, I learned key to the city that to that was symbol of freedom of the city to present keys to allow esteemed recipient to enter and exit the city freely in the middle of age, when the city was protected by walls and gates. We are very honored Daly City to present the key to us. We think this means we will be possible to be much more comings and goings through the future. I would I would like to work together to open the door of the future for our citizens, for our communities, for our next coming generations. Our hope is to create a strong friendship tie and deepen mutually understand of cities across various fields in the future. Finally, I hope the two cities will continue to interact and understand. And I would like to say thank you so much to Mayor Manalo and the member of Daly City Council once again for the warm welcome and hospitality to the delegation of Izumisano City during your very busy schedule. I hope, I wish for your health and continued prosperity. All of you are present today. That's all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So we wanted to also share with you and your contingent that we did make these Daly City cookies. But because of our sisterhood, we also made sure to have Zumazano. So please, this is for you all.
ありがとうございます。Thank you so much.
Thank
すごい
you.
たくさんいただき
Thank you. And I think at this time, what we actually, in tradition in Daly City, whenever we have, whether it's a presentation or whatnot, we actually break, and what we do is we have some cake when there's a celebration that happens. And so at this point, we do have cake and coffee for a short break to celebrate the sister city relationship. And at this point, I ask my colleagues to come up here with me and to take a photo. And then with the community, we all are going to, uh, what did they say? We'll have cake together in celebration. You know, us Americans love sweets. so, and so, please come up, council members. I'm gonna bring the key. And then I guess we'll put the key here. Mhm. Okay. Okay. There you go. We'll just share.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Use the key anytime you want.
すごい。
Cake and cookies. Oh, cake.
Everyone is welcome to the celebration. Welcome everyone back from our recess for our regular council meeting on July 22nd, 2024. We are now on to item number 2, our regular meeting of July 8th, 2024. I have a motion, or I'll motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of July 8th, 2024. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you. Have a second. And all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Now moving on to the next item on our agenda. It's public appearances and oral communications. And at this time, I'd like to welcome Whitney Croquette from Mays and Associates. Welcome.
Okay, I think that's good. All right, good evening, council members. My name is Whitney Crockett. I'm from Mays and Associates. We're the external independent auditors for the city of Daly City. And I'm just here tonight to introduce myself and to just let you know that as part of our audit, we'll be sending each of you a required communications letter. And that's something that's standard that we do each year, just to go over our scope of the audit, timing, and then a few questions for you. So I just wanted to come introduce myself and let you guys know that that's coming. So you can expect an email from me. And please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns about the memo. But other than that, I look forward to working with you guys. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Whitney. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Are there any other speaker cards? This is for item number 12. Just checking to see if there's general public comment. Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Mayor,
Sure.
if I can make a comment, I see some of the dignitaries here from the sister cities still here, and I'd like to make a comment if possible.
Oh, of course.
Okay. For the dignitaries and the delegates from our sister city, I want to say agate, agate. Hopefully I said that correctly. In reading your card, Mr. Mayor, I see you're from Osaka, and I've been to Osaka before. And now that we have a sister city relationship, hopefully I say this correctly, Kotoshe Mihon I Ikamasu. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and it's wonderful that we have established a relationship. Arigato.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Councilmember Sylvester. Any other, I think we're, thank you so much. I think we're going to move on now to our consent agenda. Well, first, we have a motion to approve our agenda.
Motion to approve?
Glenn Sylvester, second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Now moving on to consent agenda. With the consent agenda, I'd like to pull item number 7. And then also, it's, for me, only item number 7.
Through the mayor?
Council member, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to pull item number 6. Thank you.
Okay, item number 6. Thank you very much. I move to approve the agenda for, with exception of item number 6 and 7. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, may we have roll call, please?
Ms. DiGiovanni,
Aye.
Dr. Rod,
Aye.
Ms. Perano,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester,
Glenn Sylvester, aye.
Ms. Manalo.
Aye, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 6. Appropriate $15,000 of Fund 96 to the Bayshore Redevelopment RDA fund balance for the rehabilitation of a vacant unit and other property improvements at 260 Abbott.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a request to appropriate $15,000 to rehabilitate and upgrade affordable housing units at 260 Abbott. 260 Abbott is a 5-unit building owned by the city. It was originally acquired by the redevelopment agency in 2007. One of the units, which had been occupied for about 25 years, recently became available. So obviously with that vacancy, there's some upgrades needed to the building. While we were looking at the building, it became clear that it would be convenient and appropriate for the building to have laundry facilities added at the garage level and to have internet services provided to the whole building. So that cost would be about $15,000. And there is fund balance in that fund. This is an apartment building, so it does generate rent. So there are funds available. We just need to budget for it. So that's the request this evening.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Council members, Giovanni, you have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to pull up to let people know that this is one of the options that we're doing to create housing. And that to put it's a great job, Tatum, so that they can have their laundry facilities and people can move in there. And it's totally, am I correct, it's 100% low income?
100%, yes.
100%. So, and what's considered low income these days in California is quite different, but to let people know there are options and that we are looking into housing and we can rehabilitate anything under our city. They're very proactive and it's a really good job. Thank you for being proactive. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much for doing this. I think that when we talk about multi-pronged approach to our affordable housing, we build housing. This is one of those where we sustain housing at a lower income, and that to see the opportunity to ensure that we upkeep these units are so important. And so with that, I move to approve item number 6, and do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, definitely 2 seconds for sure, and I know then we can go for a roll call vote.
Ms. Giovanni,
Aye.
Dr. Rod,
Aye.
Ms. Perano,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester,
Glenn Sylvester, aye.
Ms. Manalo.
Aye, thank you very much. Item number 7, approve the use of Measure Q funds to create a police department mental health crisis response unit.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Before you this evening is a recommendation to approve the use of Measure Q funds to create a police department mental health crisis response unit consisting of a crisis response supervisor and a crisis response clinician. The police department just concluded a 2-year mental health crisis response pilot program in collaboration with the County of San Mateo. This program, known as the Community Wellness and Crisis Response Team, or CWCRT, was partially funded by the County of San Mateo during the pilot program, which ended on June 30th, 2024. Beginning this current fiscal year, participating agencies were required to fund any ongoing clinical field resources as desired by the individual agency. The CWCRT program was a collaboration between the County of San Mateo, Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, Star Vista, which is a nonprofit organization managing clinicians, and the Stanford Gardner Center, the academic research component examining the efficacy of the model. The co-response model consisted of a clinician and a police officer responding to calls for service involving subjects experiencing a potential mental health crisis. The model proved successful in both academic research and anecdotal perspectives within the perspectives within the department and in the field. The Daly City Police Department, along with 3 of the larger agencies in San Mateo County, were selected as pilot agencies, all of which shared and echoed the same resounding support for the program and realized similar benefits to the communities and their agencies. The Stanford Gardner Center found that involuntary psychiatric detentions decreased approximately 17% throughout the pilot program, amongst agencies sharing data. Some of this decrease is believed to be a result of preventing mental health emergencies from occurring, likely attributed to more adequate level of care identified by participating clinicians in the field, reducing recidivism for acute cases. This result should reduce repeat calls for service, freeing up first responder services for other needs. The mental health clinician had a significant impact on the police department and community alike. The co-response model often de-escalated situations and led to more favorable outcome for individuals experiencing a mental health crisis, frequently requiring reduced or no law enforcement engagement. While the program was not intended to include follow-up casework or prolonged in-field care, there were times it became appropriate to ensure an adequate level of care as well as to support families seeking long-term results in our community. Additionally, the clinician participated in new hire and officer crisis intervention training as well as officer wellness and critical stress debriefs. Over time, officers learned by watching the clinician in the field and as a result, improved their response to related calls in the absence of or while waiting for a clinician to arrive on scene. The clinicians that worked for Daly City were welcomed and became a pivotal component to a well-rounded response, appreciated and valued by officers in the field. All initial pilot agencies shared these experiences and are intending to maintain a co-response model with a pilot program extension expanding this service to other agencies throughout the county this coming fiscal year. The police department desires to maintain a co-response mental health crisis response unit to meet the needs of the community and ensure a well-rounded field response. Over the last 3 years, to include the duration of the pilot program, the co-response clinician responded to 463 calls for service. During this same time frame, there were 769 involuntary psychiatric detentions. This disparity between the number of detentions and the times a clinician was available and responded demonstrates the need for additional clinicians to better serve those experiencing a mental health crisis. The benefits realized during the pilot program demonstrate the value and necessity. The Mental Health Crisis Response Unit would initially consist of 2 full-time employees with the ability to expand should the need or desire be recognized. The Crisis Response Unit would be a component of the police department and work in close collaboration to further the department's mission to provide safety and service to our community. The unit would be comprised of a crisis response supervisor and a crisis response clinician who would both work independently to allow for greater periods of coverage in the field. The primary objective of the unit would be to support the police department and the community in a co-response model to incidents or calls for service that have a potential to have a mental health crisis component. The clinicians would monitor the police radio and would either be requested through dispatch or could self-attach to a call if they feel their services would be beneficial. The department would continue to partnership with the San Mateo County Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, a desired component that supports the clinician's ability to effectively serve in their capacity. Initial coverage would be Monday through Friday, expanding the morning to early evening as call volumes and statistics suggest the need. Future expansions could be considered as the need is identified. Staff is recommending the approval of 2 new clinician job specifications to include the Crisis Response Supervisor and the Crisis Response Clinician Level 1 and 2. These positions would be miscellaneous unrepresented classifications and would be assigned to the salary ranges outlined in the graph in the staff report. These salary ranges are recommended based on comparable salaries of other Bay Area agencies with similar programs. Staff is also recommending the approval to hire 2 full-time employees to staff the Mental Health Crisis Response Unit, consisting of the Crisis Response Supervisor and the Crisis Response Clinician Level 1 or 2. The Crisis Response Supervisor is a mandatory position for the unit as it requires a valid clinical license recognized by the California Board of Behavioral Sciences, which allows the unit to operate independently within the city. This certification permits the supervisor to manage non-licensed but registered practicing clinicians, which would be a Crisis Response Clinician 1, participating in field work while also ensuring efficient collaboration with San Mateo County Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. The Crisis Response Clinician can flex up to Level 2, which will require the California Board of Behavioral Science license as well, with an additional cumulative crisis response field work of 2 years or more. As these clinicians will be expected to operate in the field daily, and considering there will be overlap in shift work, 2 additional vehicles will be necessary to ensure availability for timely responses. These vehicles will either be marked as mental health crisis respondent unit vehicles and will be equipped with hazard and safety lighting and a police radio. Specific makes and models will be selected once configuration requirements are identified. However, we intend on purchasing a hybrid-style vehicle with an estimated cost of $60,000 per vehicle, which is fully outfitted. During the 2-year pilot program, while participating in the CWCRT model, expenses were shared mutually between the County of San Mateo and the participating agencies. This agreement ended with the close of the 23-24 fiscal year, transferring the full cost of the CWCRT model and program to the individual agencies. In anticipation of continuing the co-response clinician in the field, the police department last fiscal year budgeted this fiscal year for $260,000 in estimated costs, which was approved by City Council in this year's fiscal budget on June 24, 2024. The proposed mental health crisis response unit, consisting of a crisis response supervisor and clinician 1 or 2, with the addition of 2 new dedicated vehicles, is estimated to cost $578,617. Taking into consideration the already budgeted $260,000 in Measure Q funds from this fiscal year to continue the initial pilot program, the remaining amount of Measure Q funds needed to offset the cost and create the mental health crisis response unit within the police department is estimated to be $318,617. Again, staff recommends the City Council approve the miscellaneous unrepresented job specifications for the crisis response supervisor and clinician 1 or 2, as outlined above, and approve the hiring of 2 full-time employees, as well as approve the purchase of the associated vehicles and appropriate the $318,617 in Measure Q funds. And staff is available to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I pulled this item because it was very important to hear how the program has done over the course of 2 years. I was in support of the crisis response model when this was first initiated because it was so important to hear and see an alternative opportunity to support those that are in mental health crisis. And, you know, given the fact that we did this model, it was 2 years, I knew we would come to this place where, you know, we would have to assess, you know, what the outcomes were. And from your report, you're saying that there was some success in the crisis response. That's what you mentioned earlier, right?
Correct. There was.
What was the percentage of, you said some statistics?
Yeah, so the Stanford Gardner Center that did the.
With our particular program, with ours.
Well, the Stanford Gardner Center looked at the whole entire pilot program with all contributing four agencies, and they saw a 17% decrease in involuntary psychiatric detentions. Okay. As far as the specific statistics for us, we had 463 calls for service where our clinician actually responded to a call. That doesn't necessarily mean that the clinician responded to, or that every one of those was a voluntary or involuntary psychiatric detention, but there was a need for their services in the field at least 463 times over those 2 years. And obviously more with a larger expanse within the program to cover more days and more times within the field. But there were 769 involuntary detentions during that time that either the clinician or a police officer had to place somebody on that a clinician could help in those types of environments to either, one, not have to commit somebody because we don't have any other resources available, or two, provide additional resources that aren't necessarily involuntary detentions.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think it's so important for this type of program to continue. I think that we would be doing a disservice if we wouldn't continue this type of program. Because we know that mental health crises has escalated even during the pandemic and even with just situations now. And so, you know, I am in full support of ensuring the program continues, but I would love to see a continued analysis. I know that you mentioned STAR or the Stanford project did the overall kind of all of the agencies together, but I'd like to see if we're able to analyze our data going forward now that it's going to be our own program. So I'm definitely in support of this. I think that, as I mentioned, it would be a disservice to our community if we didn't continue it. But I'd really like to have some analytics over the course of time for us to look back on. And so I guess my question is, who would be doing that? Because we're doing this program, but I want to be able to make sure that we see the impact. Like, I look at the implementation piece of it, and I know that you looked at assessing, how many people you need, also the vehicles, but I'd like to know who's going to be kind of in charge of the analytics and ensuring that we have the data points over time to review this program.
Sure, we'll have the opportunity internally within the police department and our own records management system to be able to track all the calls for service that they go on, the outcomes of those calls. And there was also some other data that was developed in relation to the pilot program that we were able to verify some other components and demographics associated to the people that were receiving services. So all those things are data points that we can collect and report back to council. And again, I think there's two components to the statistics aspect, and one is the anecdotal perspective of the police department. And obviously everyone was a little skeptical about what the outcome was going to be, what the success was going to be. And not only has the Gardner Center showed a resounding success, quite frankly, in their own words, a better success ratio than any other program that's been evaluated throughout the country. So they actually came back with some really good numbers based on that data. But internally, yes, we will track all of our own. We've also created a survey that the clinician utilizes to capture data that's not necessarily captured in the records management system. Again, some of the demographic things, housed, unhoused, things of that nature that we can come back and provide spreadsheets or bar graphs to give you a better picture of the people that we're supporting, what the outcomes of that support is. But then again, the internal training component that we're receiving, that's really just making the officers better. And the feeling that the officers get when they're out on the streets, knowing that there's somebody there specialized to deal with somebody that's going through a mental health crisis, that where they can kind of disengage just to ensure that the clinician's safe, but the clinician can do the conversation and provide the services. And again, it really has provided a component or a tool that we didn't have that really does allow for hopeful reduce and use of force, de-escalation improvements, things of that nature. So I know we in every agency that I've been part of in this pilot program have all, again, echoed that same thing, where it's been, at least from our eyes in the field, a huge success. And statistically, it's also shown that, thankfully.
Thank you. Yeah, I pulled this item because I was supportive of it, but I also wanted to make sure that we have a mechanism to track looking forward or looking back from, when a year from now in that regard. But yeah, I feel like this is definitely a necessity. I want to commend the Daly City Police Department for being able to work with, the pilot program and seeing how, working together, as you mentioned, going out in the field, when you have a professional mental health, a person there, instead of having to, when you talk about de-escalation and all of that, and you've seen a difference in that respect. And so I'm for this item. I appreciate you explaining kind of where we're at to date, and that for those that are watching or in the audience, that this is really because of a pilot program that, was necessary, but that was funded through the county, and now we're at a pivotal state to be looking at funding it for a long term, and I think that we need to do this. So
Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay.
First of all,
Councilmember Prano.
thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to thank you for explaining all that. I did notice that you indicated that Monday to Friday, so for this current upcoming year, would you be thinking about having it as 7 days a week? I mean, I would think that sometimes things happen on the weekend that would be, for whatever reason, a party or something, and somebody could, have an episode and need these services. So I'm just wondering, I know this next year with the 2 vehicles, with the 2 employees, and also having to follow the data, I just, I was wondering about that. And also, I just wanted to mention, just looking at 463 calls, that's pretty amazing in 2 years. If you just divide it in half, that's almost a whole year. No, a little off, but to have something like this, and so that your officers and the public and the residents of Daly City have these services. We've all watched TV. So we all do know that sometimes people call police for help with a mental issue, and then terrible things happen. So I just commend the county and also the police officers to do something like this. I would just be hopeful that perhaps we look at 7 days a week, if that's possible. I know that means we need funding, but if you can save a life or two, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%, and I think our intention would be to go 7 days a week and expand our hours as much as possible. Right now, we're looking at the initial data points to suggest that typically our population increases during the week because of work purposes, schools, things of that nature. We're seeing a lot of need during that Monday through Friday timeframe. Not to say that Saturdays and Sundays don't have their own specific need, but I think part of this process too, the initial component of getting the process started as well, is once we bring in a supervisor and a clinician, there's going to need to be an overlap to kind of understand what the objectives of the unit are and what their roles are, and hopefully we can find people that are knowledgeable of this type of field work, because not all clinical experts are. And so there is a little bit of a learning component, and I think, we're hopeful that we're going to be able to recruit people that are familiar with not only Daly City, but also this type of field work that will make that transition smoother. But we will continue to look at data points, and I think to the mayor's point of bringing back some analytical data for you to understand and digest the success of the program, we'll also talk a little bit about what the statistics are, because we'll be able to show you Monday through Friday, these were the services that we were able to provide. Saturday and Sunday, these are the ones we missed. And if there's a need that we need to start to look to adjust and or expand the program, that's always an option as well.
And also, I just want to say, it is a great idea, or just an addition, is that the officers are learning as well. So by being exposed. So anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Prano. Any other questions or comments?
Good.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Chief, thank you so much for your report. As most people know, I generally try to go from personal experience. 463 calls over a 2-year period, 769 involuntary 5150s. First of all, police officers hold a very important power in that they have the authority to place an involuntary hold on someone under certain conditions. Either the person's a danger to themselves or they're a danger to others. Besides the job of a police officer, and some of this applies to our firefighters as well, there's certain attributes that you must have. You must be able to run fast, track star. You must be in physical shape. You must understand a little bit about psychology. You also have to be a social worker. You also have to be concerned about safety. And you have to have medical skills in providing BLS and ALS, basic life support and advanced life support, because you are the first responders. So to which I appreciate that. I feel I have an authority to speak on that because my career as a police officer entailed those attributes. And the reason why I bring that up is during 33 years in the police department, I can count on 2 hands how many involuntary 5150s I had to perform. And I was thinking about it, and it was 8 times in 33 years. So what's that, about an average of maybe maximum of 4 every 8 years? It is telling that mental awareness is an issue today. And what I've learned from this is that it doesn't extend to just the adults, but also our children, our younger generation. We used to ignore them. So this project has brought about awareness. And for some of you folks in the audience, I used to hate these calls. Why? Because the uniform in of itself basically escalated. You go into the scene, what, you're gonna take me to jail? When you wanna try to do the best. So having the clinical persons, I was against it at first. And I was against it because I was afraid for their safety. But given the stats that you have provided, especially a 17% decrease, and it's a matter and a way to de-escalate the situation. If clinicians respond, I know that our officers would be nearby. They may not park the police car in front, but they would be nearby. So that's telling me this is something that we should continue to do. I also have concerns about supplantation. Supplantation is where something should have been provided by the city, and they find ways to supplant it and find another way to get it done. But in this particular case, it was wonderful that we had the opportunity through the County of San Mateo to try this pilot program out. And as we move forward, as the mayor kind of alluded to it, this is something that the city should be providing. And supplantation should be totally out of it. So I want to commend you. If your statistics showed something else, if we only had one instance of involuntary committal manslaughter. What's the name? Well, it could lead to that, but if we only had one instance, how do you put a price on that? Just like having our police and fire. We don't have fires every day. We got crimes every day. It is better to have and not need than to need and not have. So excellent presentation, Chief. Thank you for that. And the continued awareness, it's a great program. So great job to all the clinicians. Great job to the PD, because you have to work together. If you don't work together and there's animosity, this program would not be successful. So great job. Keep up the great work. Thank you. My comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Sylvester. Councilmember DiGiovanni. And
Thank you,
then
Mayor.
Vice Mayor? Okay.
Want me to go for it? Okay, thank you. Well, let's begin by saying we all know that Don Horsley, how can we go without remembering him? He's the one that initiated it. And then he reached out to Daly City and 2 other cities and our former city manager, and it started the pilot program. So I say that that's a legacy that has really saved life. And then he knows how much he loves his law enforcement. And so it protects our law enforcement on all ends as well, too. So all the way around, that it cannot be anything but good. And acting chief, deputy chief, chief for me, that to be proactive, to know that this is so needed. The only thing I want to know is that, is the county, because I remember they have to coordinate with the HOT team or whatever it's called, are they expanding it so that we get more help up here? Because remember, the clinicians, they're doing everything they can, but they need those resources as well. Are they able to get resources
Yeah, so they're expanding the CWCRT program.
at the county?
Yeah, at the county,
Good.
to include 7 new agencies throughout the
So that
entire
we get some
county.
attention up here.
But they've also started and deployed a new crisis response team in the field, which is an independent response team. It's not a co-response model with law enforcement. So it's where people can call 988 and get access to crisis response services. Depending on the time frame of that, they will dispatch people out independent of law enforcement. Unless they think that there's a need for law enforcement, then they'll incorporate through the dispatch services. But that is also something that's starting to expand. And yes, they are starting to put a homeless outreach team or HOT team, I think, located in the South San Francisco area. So to be more of a North County component, when most of it typically came out of South County before. So I believe that was recently also something that was added.
Yeah. So I just want to say to people that think about law enforcement, and of course our first responders with our fire, they are out to save lives. Yes, law enforcement and for responders along with our firefighters together. So it's all about saving lives. So I say it's job well done. I would like to see the expansion as well. And to provide that funding, how could we not? Whenever you're ready, your leadership is impeccable, your officers, your team. I could not be any, and people in our community, they know that they're being protected by our Daly City police officers and our first responders as far as our fire work together. And that doesn't work in every city. And when they get those calls, they work together even on the mental health crisis. And like you said, it's hard to find, it is hard to find the person that's qualified, but knowing that we have to have at least two. We have to for the population. So job well done. Looking forward to it. Be safe out there. And it's all about saving lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Cameron, for that. Is my microphone working? Can y'all hear me? Okay. For that really thorough report. I think when we talk about, it's okay. When we talk about these type of programs, it's needed, right? And, just historically, what we've been going through these past few years and trying to find ways that we could reform engagements with our residents and police, it's really, really important. So I think of like 4 points, and the 4 points that I'm talking about is, one way is reducing arrests, but also finding ways of not using force when it's not useful, right? And I think this is like one of the ways and one of the practices that I hope we're leading in the county in terms of being an example. And I think that by demonstrating the statistics that you shared today, it shows something that's very, very promising that could be possibly expanded in the future. Also modeling, right? And one of the things that we want to do is model what public safety looks like, right? Better relationships with the communities, showing that we have a different approach to law enforcement. So we're having better outcomes for improving community and improving community relations. And also, like what I said earlier, modeling is very, very important. And we're not going to solve everything in 1 year, but how can we make this like impact and legacy throughout the year so that this becomes a common practice? And then my final point is about like policy development. I think one thing that we're seeing here is that having mental health clinicians, professionals, it can create evidence-based policies and procedures that align with clinical best practices, right? So thank you for sharing your presentation, and hoping in the future that we're planting the seeds for something that can be far more robust and expanded. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. And thank you so much for the presentation on this. It was really great to hear really how a pilot program, you see it as a pilot program, but now to see the results move into something more permanent within our community, as mentioned by Vice Mayor, around what we want to see, right? And so with that, I move to approve item number 7. And do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, thank you very much. And may we have roll call, please, Madam City Clerk?
Ms. DiGiovanni,
Aye.
Dr. Rod,
Aye.
Ms. Perano,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester,
Len Sylvester, aye.
Ms. Manalo.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we are moving on to item number 12, General Plan Amendment GPA-05-24-16525, Plan Development PD-10-22-015932, and Design Review DR-4-18-13424, office building and parking structure at 455 Hickey Boulevard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and city manager. My name is Sam Fielding, Associate Planner in the Planning Division of the Department of Economic and Community Development, and I will present the next item this evening. The item before you is the planning entitlements of a general plan amendment rezone, and plan development, design review, and certification of the CEQA mitigated negative declaration for the proposed office redevelopment and parking structure located at 455 Hickey Boulevard. The subject property is a 3.2-acre site consisting of 3 parcels located immediately southeast of the Gellert Boulevard and Hickey Boulevard intersection. The site is bounded by Hickey Boulevard, Sarah Vista Avenue, Sarah Lane, and Gellert Boulevard. Currently, there is a 65-foot height, 5-story, 80,652 square foot office building with a 3-level, 293-space parking garage located at the project site. The existing building tenants include medical and commercial office uses. The surrounding uses at the site include commercial uses to the north and adjacent west of the site, residential to the south, and Gellert Park, Library, and Fire Station are located west of Gellert Boulevard. Interstate 280 is located to the east of the project site. The existing land use designation and zoning are displayed on this slide here. The land use designation is retail and office in pink and commercial office in orange. The zoning is light commercial, the pink color, and the commercial office orange color, and planned development in green. The project site general plan land use designations are commercial retail and office, and commercial office. The applicant proposes a general plan amendment to change the portion of the commercial retail and office parcel to commercial office, so the entire site is commercial office. The subject property site is currently zoned light commercial, commercial office, and plan development 8A. The project site would be rezoned to a new plan development zone allowing commercial office use. The planned development would define the heights, setbacks, and density and design standards based on the proposed project. A little bit about the project background. The 3.2-acre site is comprised of 3 parcels previously developed as the Saramonte Business Center in 1982. In 2021, the applicant submitted a pre-application conference application for this project. Subsequently, in 2022, the applicant applied for a planned development zone change and a design review permit concurrent entitlements for the proposed project. On May 2nd, 2023, at the Planning Commission hearing, the Planning Commissioners reviewed and approved the preliminary plan. On May 22nd, 2023, the City Council hearing, the City Council reviewed and approved the preliminary plan. And finally, on June 4th, 2024, Planning Commission hearing, the Planning Commission reviewed and recommended the City Council approve the planning entitlements. The applicant is seeking approval of planning entitlements that would allow 2 alternatives: an 8-story, 166-foot height, 280,000 square foot commercial office building with a 3-level parking structure, or a 5-story, 118-foot height, 180,000 square foot medical office building with a 3-level parking structure. This slide also shows some of the details about each proposed alternative. Both alternatives would have parking for 900 on-site parking spaces. Then we have the projected project population for alternative A, which would be 1,120 to 1,245 employees. Both projects have a transportation demand management plan, and both projects include intersection traffic and pedestrian safety improvements. So these are the required planning entitlements. We just listed them out here just as a refresher: the general plan amendment, plan development rezone, design review, and then the CEQA certification of the mitigated negative declaration document and the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program. This project has also already gone to the ALUCP for consistency with the Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan that was adopted on December 8th, 2022 by the CCAG Board. And the project will also include a lot merger of 3 parcels into 1 parcel to be zoned for the new planned development. So at this time, the City Council will be reviewing the proposed general plan designation amendment, rezone, and design review for the proposed project alternatives. The City Council may recommend approval, conditional approval, or denial of the planning entitlements for both alternatives. And then we have the required entitlements, planned amendment to the general plan, plan development, and then the design review, and then review and certification of the CEQA MND report. This slide explains, talks a little bit about the outreach, that community outreach that the applicant performed. They hosted 2 Zoom video conference community meetings, one on April 27th, 2023. The major concern at that meeting was traffic control on Cerro Vista. So the applicant did explain the traffic, pedestrian, and safety improvements that will be conditions for this project and that would address those issues. And then on the other community meeting that was held on April in 2024, April 24th, some of the feedback and the comments that were received at that meeting were relating more to the construction logistics of the project. And the applicant addressed those questions and explained how the project would comply with all city construction regulations. Overall, the feedback from the community based on these two community meetings was positive, and they felt that their concerns were being addressed. This is a aerial photo of the project site. Just wanted to show you that. And this is the existing site plan and photos from various perspectives. Hickey Boulevard Southwest, Hickey Boulevard to the south, Hickey Boulevard looking southeast, Cerro Vista Ave southeast, Cerro Vista Ave north, and then Cerro Vista Ave northwest. This is the proposed site plan. What I want to mention with this slide is that instead of the current existing building, which is located in the middle of the site, the new building, the new proposed office building would be placed farther northeast and make it closer to the commercial corner of Hickey and Gellert and away from the residential neighborhood on the south side. So that's one thing to point out, that this design will work better as far as, reducing impacts to the neighborhood and bringing that use further closer to the intersection. This is the rendering of the proposed office building and parking structure looking southwest from Hickey Boulevard. Just to note, we're showing in the renderings the higher height building. The other alternative is the 5-story building, but we're just presenting the renderings of the taller building. This is the rendering looking northeast from Cerro Vista and Gellert. This is looking southeast from Hickey and Gellert. And this one is looking northwest from I-280. This is a rendering, aerial view of the rendering. In this slide, I'm showing the elevations of the proposed 8-story, 166-foot height office building, measured from grade to the top of the parapet. And it also shows the south elevation, north elevation, and the east elevation. Oops. So wanted to talk a little bit about the color and materials of the proposed project. The applicants have submitted a contemporary style building design that will utilize an exterior material combination of white, gray, and charcoal color metal panels for the upper floors and a perforated metal panel exterior to camouflage the lower level parking garage. Warm gray panel and off-white panels will be used for the exterior bands delineating the floors and the windows, which will be a combination of silver blue and gray blue glass. The roof parapet exterior will be warm gray panels. Staff has reviewed this design, materials and color and landscaping, and determined that the project meets the required findings of section 17.45.080 design review of the municipal code, and staff supports the building design. This slide shows some information about the site access and parking. It would be the same under both the commercial office and the medical office building options. The project under either option would include 2 entry points for employees and visitors to access the podium parking and the parking structure. Access to the podium parking would be provided primarily from Hickey Boulevard with drop-off at the interior lobby. Access to the parking structure east of the office building would be provided primarily via a private driveway off Sarah Vista Avenue. A curbside drop-off space would be provided on Sarah Vista Avenue, connecting the sidewalk and the new entry plaza leading to the building's main lobby. A landscape pathway would link the lobby to the elevator stairway of the parking structure to the east, and delivery trucks traveling to the site would enter and exit via the Sarah Vista Avenue driveway to access the singular loading area east of the building within the service yard. There would be an internal drive aisle to provide vehicle and truck circulation around the perimeter of the proposed building. Additionally, a 20-foot wide utility easement driveway would be constructed on the north side of the first parking level to provide the city access to the realigned underground sewer lines and storm drain. The driveway would be accessible via the garage entry off Hickey Boulevard and through a sloped driveway to Sarah Vista. This table shows the proposed parking for the project. It will include 900 parking spaces, 797 standard, 103 compact spaces, 18 accessible spaces, and then would require 450 total electric vehicle spaces. Of those, 90 EVs would be level 2, 90 would be EV level 1, and then 270 would be EV capable. And what that means as far as EV capable, that's infrastructure installed except for the wiring. So they're set up already to have EV stalls, but it's just the infrastructure. And then there's also the bicycle parking, 8 short-term spaces and 46 long-term. So as part of this project, the applicant was required to do a traffic impact study and also look at transportation demand management requirements. And this was part of the CEQA environmental analysis. So the transportation impacts looked at local impacts measured in terms of vehicle delay and levels of service at intersections and transportation operation issues such as site access, impacts to active transportation modes, and vehicle traffic operations. For the traffic impact study, the transportation consultant evaluated the traffic conditions at 17 study intersections and 2 project driveways during the AM and PM peak hours for a typical weekday. The study intersections were selected based on the consultant's working knowledge of the area with input and approval from Daly City staff. This project also requires a transportation demand management plan, and that's as per CCAG TDM policy, and it would require a trip reduction of 25% for a large non-residential project in this transit area. And these are the 9 measures that would be required to meet that target. So we can look at those, the free preferential parking for carpools, TDM coordinator, contact person, participating in commute.org, carpool and van pool program, transit or rideshare passes and subsidies, pre-tax transportation benefits, secure bicycle storage, and design streets to encourage pedestrian access. And then the showers, lockers, and changing room for cyclists. These are required for the project. Based on the traffic impact study and the travel demand management plan as required for the project, city staff developed transportation improvement conditions of approval for the project. The conditions of approval for the project include pedestrian and traffic improvements for the surrounding streets adjacent to the proposed project, including street vehicle striping, pedestrian flashing beacons, corner bulb outs, ADA curb ramp upgrades, and coordination with public transit to improve bus stops fronting the project site. The new condition of approval is improving the bus stops, including installing bus shelters at the Samtrans eastbound bus stop on Hickey Boulevard and southbound Samtrans Gellert Avenue site. And this is if feasible. So this is something that the applicant and city staff will be working with Samtrans to develop these bus shelters if feasible. If not, there are other amenities that can be added for the bus stops. So that is a big component that we were adding based on public comments that we received for the project. Early on, there was some concern, some comments about the impact of shadows. So the applicant did provide a shadow study to assess the potential impacts on the existing streets and properties. This study included both development scenarios, the 8-story commercial office development and the 5-story medical office. The shadow study was conducted using a combination of satellite images, digital mapping tools, and 3D modeling and simulation software. Data was collected for different times of the day, including 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. during the spring equinox, summer solstice, fall equinox, and winter solstice to capture variations in shadow patterns throughout the year. So this is what you're looking at here for the technology office, or this is the commercial office, the taller structure. And as you can see in the images and the modeling, most of the shadow is toward the north, sort of crossing Hickey, and then except for winter when it extends sort of northwest, but mostly at the intersection. There's very little impact to the neighborhood. This is for the medical office. Also, similar shadow pattern, but reduced, which you would expect from a lower height building. Moving on, talking about the planting. This is for illustrative purposes. This slide shows the variety of trees, hedges, and ornamental grasses proposed for the project landscaping and open space and plaza areas for pedestrian access. And this is the planting plan provided by the applicant. Most of the planting and landscaping is off the Cerro Vista Avenue, and that's where most of that's where the pedestrian access and the plazas will be for the workers coming to the office. This is the illustration of the hardscape concept for the site. So a little bit about the CEQA environmental review. It was determined that the proposed project as required would have a less than significant impact on the environment with implementation of avoidance and mitigation measures. The city provided responses to public comments received during the 30-day review period and included them in the final CEQA MND document presented to City Council tonight. This is in your attachment I in your packet. The 3 comments were received during the public comment period, and these were addressed in the final CEQA report. The first one was from the Pedestrian Bicycle and Safety Committee, who had some suggestions for pedestrian traffic safety and the transit improvements for the project. So these were evaluated and reviewed by city staff and led to the addition of the condition of approval for the bus shelter improvements. There was also a Caltrans comment regarding permits required if work encroaches in Caltrans right away. This is not anticipated for this project. And there was one comment from a resident located at Berta Circle. She had concerns about the aesthetics, the traffic and pollution and noise of the project. This comment was also addressed in the CEQA response to public comments. So lastly, as part of this project, we look at identifying potential elements that would be a significant impact if they were found to occur at the project site. And so these five elements needed to be addressed in part of a mitigation monitoring and reporting program. The first one is air quality. So with construction, there can be dust as part of that project. And so there are best management practices that need to be implemented to control the construction dust. And so there is a mitigation measure included for that. Then biological resources, if nesting birds are found during the construction, then there's mitigation program for that to address that issue. The same with cultural resources in the event that archaeological resources are found. Geology and soils, also paleontological resources. And then noise and vibration, also related to the construction best management practices. So these are included in the CEQA document as mitigation monitoring reporting program measures. Staff is recommending that the City Council approve the general plan amendment, plan development rezone, design review, and certification of the CEQA MND for the 455 Hickey Boulevard office and parking structure redevelopment. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we also have the project applicant team, the traffic consultants, and our CEQA consultant representative to answer questions. And city traffic engineers are also available to answer questions about the project. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the extensive overview of this general plan amendment. And I think that it's good to see where the project is to date. I'd like to ask if the project sponsor could please come up, as I do have some questions for them. And
I'm Tom Gilman, partner with DES Architects, Redwood City.
welcome. Thank you very much. The question I have first and foremost is, what is your anticipated timeline on when this project would be done? Given that, it is adjacent to a business sector, but then also adjacent to residential. So I'd like to know if you have a timeline.
Given the current market conditions, it's, I think that the owner thinks that they need to have a tenant before they can actually move forward with construction. In the meantime, we would be completing construction drawings, getting ready for a permit, building permit. But then I think with the cost of money currently and with the lack of tenants, that's needed before actually moving forward to actually start the construction itself.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is basically you're going for entitlements right now. You're trying to simultaneously gather more tenants so that you could fund the project. Is that what I'm hearing?
Basically, yes. I mean,
Okay.
it's just given the current market conditions, it's typically developers are not building a speculative building until there's a tenant identified.
Okay, thank you. Also, and this is for you as an architect or the project owner, I think this is probably a question that has come up in the past around, working with our local skilled and trained construction workers, via union and apprenticeship program, something that is very important to our community, our regional community. I just wanted to understand if, I think maybe in the past, we have indicated that it would be wonderful to work with our local labor. And I wanted to know where that was at and if you all have reached out. Are you, looking towards utilizing, our union labor as well as apprenticeship programs, because it's so important to use workers within our community, because it, as you know, it just helps our community as a whole. And given it's such a large development project, it's something that we know, it has trickle effects. Not only would this project be benefiting, obviously, the enhancement of your business, but also, when we look at economic development, it's really a holistic approach. And so I think my direct question is, have you looked at and reached out to kind of local labor and also apprenticeship programs within our community?
I think the actual contractor is not yet selected. So but I think typically buildings of this nature, it's our experience that they are typically built with union labor. And those typically do then have those other programs, the apprenticeship programs that you're talking about. That's pretty standard for this type of commercial project that we've been involved with.
Okay. So I guess when I hear that you all are committed to reaching out and working with our local, labor and apprenticeship programs, that's what I'm hearing from you, because you're saying typically that's what you all do. And so I think, that's something that we value greatly.
And I think at our planning commission meeting, there was a representative from one of the labor unions that had come and spoken positively for the project as well. So.
Okay. So it's great to hear that all of you will be working with our local labor. I think that's something very important, especially around such a huge project and undertaking.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Chair? Okay.
Go ahead.
So I recall this project when I was on the Planning Commission.
Ah.
It was kind of interesting for it to come up and be here seated. So I'd like to thank you for that. If I recall correctly, we did just have a long discussion with regards to either a 5-story or an 8-story. And the reason was, if I recall correctly, if you did a 5-story, it would be a medical, like you would fit it as a medical building. But if we did an 8-story, you indicated commercial, but if I recall correctly, it was tech. That we understood that what you wanted to was attract companies that would normally go to South City or somewhere else, and we would attract tech companies.
Right.
Is that still correct?
Yeah, that was the concept of this project, and why 8 stories versus the 5. And with the parking difference in the parking ratio of tech office versus medical, that's where we got to the approximately 900 cars for the parking garage. And it's basically about 3 cars per 1,000 for tech office, about 5 cars per 1,000 for medical office. So.
Which would explain why you indicated 3 to 5 stories for parking when we looked
Yes.
at the drawings.
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you for that. Are you still on that plan?
Yes.
That if it was 8 stories, you would be trying to attract tech companies here to Daly City?
Right.
Okay, and I'm going to assume that when you said there was neighborhood meetings, that the families, and well, I'm going to get back to you real quick, but that the people that came, that spoke, they were not, because one of our concerns was, again, and thank you for showing the shadow analysis, we were, worried about wind, worried about shadow, and it indicated on the drawing there that the shadow went up north. Now, I couldn't tell, right? I couldn't tell if there were houses when the top right, where it says the winter solace at 9 a.m. I was just wondering right there, yeah. So right there, what is up that way? Are those homes?
Looks like Gellert Park.
It's Gellert Park?
Yes.
That's where we want it, right? Okay. And then the question for you, sir, is cement. So as we all know, cement is becoming rarer and rarer. They take all the sand, there's not much left, and they're just scooting around, taking all the sand under all the water. So when you break down the cement, are you grinding it down, reusing it? Is that kind of what you all
Yeah.
do nowadays?
Yes, it's very typical on, projects of this scale, this type of commercial project, that the existing, any existing concrete would be ground. The metal reinforcement is separated from the concrete itself, and then it gets reused as part of the project or to someone who needs that material. So absolutely, it's recycled, as a
Absolutely.
part of the
Well,
project.
In the old days, it went down in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bay. We have buildings now there.
Exactly.
Okay, so cement, and how is it going to be determined, a 5-story or an 8-story? How's that eventually going to be determined? Would you have that answer, Sam?
Yes, the entitlements for this project are for both. So there's alternative 5-story, alternative 8-story. The city council will be approving both of them.
So
It's not, the approval isn't just for one, but it's for approval for both.
So depending if they have a customer or a renter or someone to lease the building and it was tech, you would build 8. That kind of where we're at?
Right.
Which would be nice for the city, right?
Yeah, the purpose of the two alternatives is to provide the most market responsive flexibility so that they have the entitlements in place and whatever the market's demanding, they can build for that.
Okay. I think that was all my questions. And the last, I guess, is not too many complaints from the residents in that area with regards to these, people are not used to the higher buildings here in Daly City. It's going to happen, but
Yes, we just had the 3 comments, the public comments in the CEQA 30-day review period, and then we received recently one comment from a neighbor in the neighborhood to the south that was addressed to the city clerk and city council, sort of general concerns about traffic and aesthetics, I guess you would say, and these were addressed in the CEQA environmental document and in the staff report.
thank you. Thank you. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember DiGiovanni?
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
Sure.
One of them is, I think on the, great job, by the way, for presentation as well. One of the biggest things I think that the mayor had also hit up on is King Asset Management. I think they usually go to a list of, as you already know, because you've been as an architect, a list of signatory contractors that they can, through our San Mateo County Building and Trades, and then you don't have to worry about anything with the wage theft and things like that, because she hit on the very important things about the skilled and trained construction workers, and they actually deal with the local unions that actually make sure that everything is, as you know, of your experience, which I understand is extensive, that it's on time and budget, and we don't have to worry about anything. So that would be great, because then we have local hire for our contractors. So the signatory can get that list through the San Mateo Building and Trades. The second thing is on, let's see, where was that? I think I have it on the page. I like the building, and I remember when you did, I think I watched the planning as well, and when Councilmember Perano hit on the fact of, and I think that I thought about the biotech level 1 that's also been interested in Daly City, but we haven't been able to have anything contracted that way. What about the current tenants? Are they medical offices mostly, the current tenants? And are they interested in staying, or the ones that are there now?
I think there's an office tenant there currently.
For them?
Is that right?
There's a mix, and and they're much smaller tenants, so they would be relocated.
Yeah, because I just want to make sure we have enough medical office as well, but I do like the idea of a fan that we should be able to get something that will create revenue in our city. That's ongoing revenue, because we're very limited in, as we all know, sitting here, limited in spaces to have anything like that. The architecture to me is really nice, and it was very thoughtful of your architectural design. And that the fact that you did reach out and did the shadow study really limits, and then how you scaled it back, like the planner was saying, you moved it,
Yeah.
you moved the building back, and that's another thoughtful. I wish everyone else would be that way when they came for projects, but thank glad you're here. I think it's a beautiful project, and thank you for wanting to reach out and get a list and see which contractors. It's less of a headache for you as well,
Yeah.
and less of a headache for King Asset Management if they get a list of signatory contractors which deal with the unions. So that's all I have right now, and the apprentice training programs. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, just a few comments, couple of questions. Was there any feedback from the local businesses in that area? No?
No, staff did not receive any feedback.
All right. Going off the whole subject of like 5 to 8 stories, can you tell me like what the size is in comparison to the Kaiser building over Hickey? Is it comparable?
So, you mean south of
Yeah,
the,
south
on
of
the other
Hickey,
side of the
so,
freeway?
Yeah,
So that's 6 stories on top of.
Yeah.
got it. On top of the parking.
6
part,
over
right?
parking, it sounds like, yeah.
Okay. So would you say it's greater than or bigger than the Kaiser? Kind of, yeah.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, slightly, yeah.
2 stories.
Yeah, maybe 2 stories higher than that particular building.
Okay.
Right. Depending upon where you're looking at it from as well.
Right. Okay. And then we're still trying to, and then from what I'm gathering is that we're just trying to see if we're gonna go medical tenant or if we're gonna go, so we're just kind of just searching, just depending on the market.
Right,
Right. Okay.
correct.
All right. That's enough for me.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Sylvester.
Thank you. What are we going to do about the existing tenant? Imagery system is there. California State Automobile Association is there. What happens with those folks?
Well, if we do the project and their leases expire, then they would do.
Okay, so if their lease expires, then they're out. So no kind of concessions for them or offering a place in the new building, since obviously it looks like you're going to go away from that sort of retail business, the insurance business, if you're going to go to tech and office space. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the imagery system, they would be out also based upon their lease expiration date.
That's right.
Okay? Egress and ingress of vehicles. As it currently stands, and the presentation indicated that it's basically going to be the same. So to my understanding, there's ingress on Hickey Boulevard, or you can come in on Sierra Vista Boulevard, and then I believe you can also come in, what's that, Callan?
No, there would basically be 2 accesses to the project. In let's see, the diagram upper right, where that red and green arrow combine and come on at the middle of the project, that would be the access from Sierra Vista. And the extreme right, that's simply that's a public works kind of a service type of access, would not be part of the users for the building. So the other access that, of course, comes in from Hickey, and with that dedicated left turn lane, and the difference is that currently when you make that turn and you come onto the property, you immediately kind of go up. There's a ramp up when you come onto the property. At this point, with the design, we would actually you would be coming straight in. And so it's a more level kind of access onto the property. And as soon as you come in, on that level, you can proceed a little bit in the same direction, then make a left, and you come right alongside it's really stair elevator, kind of a lobby for the building. So then you can just go straight up into the building. So trying to make it easy for folks to come into the building, but also to try to take a good deal of the cars coming and going, keeping those on Hickey as much as possible and not coming onto the Sarah Vista.
I'm looking at your parking structure. So how would someone access the parking structure? It appears that they would have to, if they came in on that left turn on Hickey, then they would have to go through and maybe exit the building in order to drive over. How do they get to the parking structure that's on the far left on the bottom?
So if you come in off of Hickey, those green arrows there, you could take either one of those drives that extend to the right, and then there's a winder. It's essentially a winder. So alongside call it the freeway side, you would ramp up, turn, and then keep on coming. So it ramps all the way up. And from the other side, if you look at the lower left diagram, if you came in that direction, you would come on from Sierra Vista, you would come on straight, head towards the freeway, and then make a right turn, and then start either up, or if you made an immediate right, you could then wind down. So it's simply it's a corkscrew of sorts. I mean, it's a ramp up, ramp down from that point. And so whether you come in off of Hickey or you come in off of Sarah Vista, you can wind through the parking structure from bottom to top. It's all completely connected.
Where would the delivery trucks pull into the building? I'm trying to compare this to the Kaiser, which is further south. I actually like that plan there where the delivery trucks come in, but they don't go into the parking. Rather, they stay on the outside, and at the end of the building, they can pull in for deliveries. I thought I heard that. You have something similar?
Yeah, so if you look at the lower left
Yes.
diagram,
Yes.
coming in off Sarah Vista, the trucks would come straight across, heading toward the freeway, and then that service area is right at the end. So they could kind of come in, make a little right, and then back into the service area right at the end of the building, if you will, on that podium level.
I'm having trouble comprehending, but I'll get the gist of it. Not a problem, because if I compare it to the Kaiser, the other part I like about the Kaiser, and what you made mention, is you take a elevator up, and then you come into the main building, then you go to the other set of elevators to go up to the floors.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, now the tough question. You made mention about 90 level 2 charging, this is my expertise here now, and 90 level 1 charging, and the possibility of 270 capable. Now, I'm taking capable to mean you're going to put in the conduit, but I heard no wires. So if that's the case, I guess I'm taking it as dark fiber. The conduit is there, but you can run the wires later on if need be. Am I correct?
This is Kenny Hung, one
Yes.
of our senior associates from our
Okay.
office, and he's kind of our sustainability guru.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's the idea. We are required to have at least 50% of the parking to be EV, either installed or EV ready. So that was the kind of idea, EV capable, that you have the infrastructure, you can conduit, you can put the wire later on to provide for future EV parking.
Dig once is the key. Just as long as it's underneath and you cover it up. So I like that idea. So Mr. Hung, stay there. Yep. So 270, I like it. Now my question is, why would you do level 1 and level 2? Why not make it all level 2?
I think that's a requirement. We're following the REACH code, the local Daly City REACH code requirement. And in fact, this is above and beyond the REACH code requirement because this building, which comply with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District to be 50% EV parking, this is above the REACH code requirement, essentially.
Well, the REACH code is generally dictates that we should move towards electricity and the use of electricity rather than gas. But I'm not really getting my question answered. Just because the REACH code says we should use electricity, why? I mean, because level 1, you're talking about 3 to 5 miles per hour in charging. And if it's open, why not make it all level 2, which can give you up to 30 miles per hour?
Right. Well, I think well, that obviously the faster charger would be have a cost element in as well. So I think we try to comply with those requirements and try to make it work for the project.
Oh, okay, I don't have a problem with that, but I believe that the cost would be minimal as opposed to the gauge wire that you put in there, 120 versus 220 or 240, and that's just the gauge of the wire. So while it's open, why not just put better gauge wire in there and have the capability for level 2 charging? I think level 1 charging at 120 volts is just a waste of time. That's my thought. Okay, my next one. So would you kindly keep that in mind?
Sure.
Have you thought about reaching out as to what type of charging adapters are you going to have? CCS or the new standards that has been accepted by most automobile EV manufacturers, NACS?
Well, that's something we will probably look at in the future when we are working on the construction documents to look at the newer standard and try to source it out to see what's most appropriate for the project. So we haven't looked into it yet, to be honest.
Okay.
Actually, having a Tesla myself, we will probably try to encourage going toward the NACS.
That's the answer I was looking for, sir. You are absolutely correct, because a lot of other automobile manufacturers have now seen the light,
Right.
and they're providing NACS to adopt. They're adopting the NACS standard, and that is an excellent answer. Thank you. And they're providing the adapters, vice versa.
Right.
But I tell you what, I wouldn't. If I were to visit, I probably, most people probably go in for an hour at the most, so they don't expect to charge their car, But at the same time, like in South San Francisco, they built a new recreation center, and the charging was free. I think this is an opportunity to somehow get back some of that. If you want to charge, you stick your card in, whether it's ChargePoint or whatever, it's just not free. But if you want to charge and for the convenience, I think that would be a mechanism, as minor as it is, to get some of it back. And I think that will compensate for the additional 220 volt upgrade in the wiring rather than 120 at level 1. So that would be my suggestion. Existing tenants, traffic study, which you answered, Mr. Feldman, thank you so much. Parking egress, EV, conduit, CCS, you answered all my questions. Thank you so much, and Mr. Hung, thank you as well.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor, thank you.
Very much, Councilmember Sylvester. Let's see. Can you, I'm just curious, can you pull up your transportation demand management, like your overall proposal again? In regards to kind of the plan? And so with these, the carpool or van pool program, is that something that essentially you all would provide like as a private entity to the tenants, or just trying to understand that portion of it?
Maybe I can ask Anna Vickroy from TJKM to come up
Thank
and
you.
just talk about this, our traffic engineer.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I'm Anna Vickroy. I'm a licensed civil and traffic engineer working as a consultant with the developer. Regarding your question for carpool and the van pool program, typically how it's administered is the development may assign a person who manages the program, and this person may identify carpools that are available in the area, not necessarily providing the carpools, but just organizing the carpools. That's typically how it's done. Now, depending upon the tenant that is there, they could go the extra and organize with the employees to see if there are carpools or van pools that want to naturally form within the organization. So it really depends on how the TDM administrator wants to organize it.
Okay, so this is basically a menu that, or how they organize it. I mean, meaning whatever is available around the area.
Right.
And then, so who would be the administrator? The TDM administrator?
So whoever becomes the tenant, they would be required to appoint a person who would have this duty. It doesn't have to be a full-time duty. It could be some, like maybe the building manager, as an example, could take on this role.
Okay, thank you. You answered my question. I see like there's whoever is kind of the main large tenant. Is that what we're looking at? Like whoever is going to be the tenant of the overall building?
Correct.
They would be in their lease. Is that it? In their lease would be required to manage this program. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
I was just going to add, what we've seen in the past is that if the building truly became very multi-tenant with a number of tenants, then oftentimes a developer might bridge the gap and have someone that they would kind of set up a program or something and then maybe hand it off to maybe the largest tenant or whichever one seemed the best to work with. But I think, as Anna's saying, if it were, if this is a one-tenant building, that's really going to be that tenant is going to be setting up their own program or their own group to manage it.
Okay, thank you. Just some, I think ideas that come to mind because of your transportation demand management plan. Our city in Daly City just recently had like a pilot program with the Lyft bicycles at Daly City BART. And I think through CCAG and other studies that they're looking at our area in the city of Daly City to expand the first set of bicycles that go to San Francisco, but we're looking at opportunities to expand. Where could there be multiple stations of the electric bicycles? And so that's what came to mind around like, okay, well, if that is going to be something useful for your tenants and then also for just the public or residents around the development itself.
Right.
And so I think that's something maybe to look at. There's always partnerships or opportunities. I think given that area has you're looking at a lot of tenants there as workers, but then also given the footprint of where the mall is or, just having that, we're looking at ways to impact kind of traffic, and there's always an opportunity to see maybe that's a possibility down the line. I mean, it's a pilot program, but who knows, by the time you all are built, there might be multiple stations already, right? And if you've seen the electric bikes that are all around San Francisco and other parts of the Bay Area, I'm just saying as we go along, there might be an opportunity at your site in the future,
Sure.
which will be beneficial for your tenants as well as the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through the chair? Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Prayano, and then after it'll be Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Thank you. Just piggybacking on Councilmember Sylvester's concern regarding existing tenants, Tatum, this one is for you. Is there something in your department that would reach out perhaps to a tenant and just let them know, I would hate to lose business like AAA, everybody, we've all at least been there once or twice. And just letting them know that there's other opportunities or other businesses, other companies that have property that they may want to investigate or thoughts?
Yes, our department, we have an economic development specialist that specializes in real estate and making those connections. So we could certainly make ourselves available for that. Sometimes businesses do decide to just kind of end their term, so I don't know what AAA's plans are, but we certainly could help them look for additional space.
And reach out to them, let them know that there's opportunities. Thank you, and thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you, Councilmember Prano. Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Thank you. So I was going to piggyback that too. I thought that was a great idea to help them find a spot, right? Ceremony Del Rey, we lost a lot of businesses that way as well. And we don't want to lose, especially a lot of them been 30, 40 years. So thank you. And then also through the commute.org, I sit on that board, and I know that Tatum and your department work with them a lot for the TDM. So they also had, when they had the Ceremony Del Rey, they had a shuttle for the teacher staff housing. And then along with the teacher staff housing, which became very popular, they also used, as the mayor was saying, but they did it through commute.org for the e-bikes. And they actually went and trained some of the teachers and did all kinds of programs with them. And so you may want to reach out with them, commute.org. And I know that Tatum works with them quite a bit. And all the cities do actually. And that's a great way to do that. And the carpool, their carpool is also, and the van pool, they have those programs already in place. And also the van pool is part of the Seton, which the mayor sits on the CCAG, and I sit on the commute.org, so it coincides together for funding. So actually, you can probably get funding and reach out to them, and I'm sure they'll be able to help you on figuring something out for that. And it's also a union, the shuttles are union. So that's a great thing. And I know, Tatum, thank you for you. I know you do a lot with them, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember DiGiovanni. Are
Yeah,
you
thank you.
finished? Okay, Councilmember Sylvester.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Vicroy, it is?
Pardon?
Is Anna Vicroy, did I pronounce it correctly? Okay. I saw you sitting out back there for a while, and you never know when you're going to be called, so thank you for your patience. Sure. First of all, I have to commend you for your work in working with us in the transportation demand management. I'd like to thank staff for bringing this information available to you folks as well. And I guess Councilmember DiGiovanni was one step ahead of me, because I was going to let you know that we do have a member up here who is part of commute.org. I used to be a part of commute.org, and hearing you, is it Vicroy?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
And hearing you speak and your optimism that based upon whoever the tenant's going to be, when we work all together and just know that commute.org is a resource, And I remember being there. We talk about these big companies getting some subsidies through commute.org to include incentivizing some of your tenants who will be working, and incentivize your tenants, hey, if you carpool, we'll give you $100 a month. So excellent. Please stay in tune with commute.org. They're there to help. And Ms. Vickroy, I appreciate your optimism because I gathered that from when you spoke. So I just wanted to commend you for that. Thank you. That's all I
Thank
have.
you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions from my colleagues? Seeing none at this time, I'm gonna move to, oh, go ahead.
If I could.
Yes.
One other question that we wanted to comment on was an item in the architectural site design portion of the plan development standards. There was a requirement for all ground-mounted appurtenances like transformers, air conditioning, and that kind of thing shall be undergrounded. All of the air conditioning and those kind of units will be screened within a roof area. But in terms of the transformers, PG&E no longer allows us to put those underground. And we have, in the site plan, we showed a screened area on that podium level where those would occur, but they're all screened from view otherwise. And then there's a direct, with the with the cables and so on, a direct connection into the electric rooms of the building itself. But they've gotten away from allowing us to do undergrounding the transformers. So just wanted to mention that.
One
And
of the
we'll work with
changes-
staff to resolve that.
One of the changes you'll need to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Okay. Thank you for that update. Really
Sure.
appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you. So now at this point, I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, thank you. I'd like to call up Mr. Tom Trayer from Sheet Metal Workers Local Union 104. Please come up and welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, City Councilors. My name is Tom Trayer. I'm a proud member of Local 104, the Sheet Metal Workers International Association. I've been a lifelong resident of San Mateo County. I'm not here representing just my union tonight. I'm here representing all the local families. We're actually supporting this project. I'm encouraged to hear some of the words regarding organized labor and the possible utilization of labor on this project. There are many Daly City residents that could benefit from these kinds of jobs. And as all of you know, our training programs are top-notch. And these are pathways for the middle class. And I myself wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for my training program. I'm a second-generation union sheet metal worker. And I'd really like to thank everybody for their kind words regarding organized labor tonight. This is a great opportunity to build this project with local area standards, and most importantly, local apprenticeships. So I'm really encouraged tonight, and I encourage both the city councilor to reach out to us at any point in time. Also, the San Mateo County Building Trades, Bart Pentoa is a great partner to have. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think this is the only speaker card we have for this evening, so motion to close. Thank you.
Second.
Second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. I think, given the discussion that we have here with this project is coming before us today, and looking at the extensive work that both staff and the project sponsor has done. I am assured from the comment that the engineer said, and also through the project sponsor, that there is a real commitment to working with the local community as far as apprenticeship programs and being able to work with the local community around labor. And so that's always good to hear, because as I mentioned, as a large project that we see in front of us, the trickle effect of the impact towards our local community is huge by creating jobs that are within our community. And I also know that, this is an opportunity for you as a business owner to be able to enhance a location there. And you did the due diligence with the shadow study, which was wonderful, and have answered questions around what my colleague here, Councilmember Sylvester, looks at, as I think he mentions is it four-time Tesla owner or whatnot around electric vehicles. And so those questions were answered in regards to ensuring there's enough, EV plugins, et cetera, for the community and looking towards opportunities to ensure, we're looking at the future. And then also around really transportation demand management. We hear and understand where you're at right now as a project, especially in the market. And so when I would say it's not rubber hits the road, but I think when you're in that momentum, we are assured that you will be working with our local community. So thank you for that. We know that it's when it's large developments like this, how impactful it is overall. And I see that you did community outreach as well. And so with that, I motion for the city attorney to read by title only. That's where we're at, right?
Second.
Okay, second. Seconded by Vice Mayor and,
Just a voice vote.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Daly City, amending the Daly City zoning map by amending ordinance number 1316 regarding plan development standards for PD-8B.
Thank you very much for reading by title only. I am happy to introduce the ordinance. May we adopt by roll call, please? A motion to approve this.
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. DiGiovanni,
Aye.
Dr. Rod,
Aye.
Ms. Perano,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester.
Before I give my vote, I wanted to make a quick comment to the developers and to staff. You've been through Planning Commission, and the staff worked with you, and there's a reason for it. And that is how you got here today with all the information and its transparency that has been provided. This is a project well thought out,
Yes.
well done.
Yes.
And with that, I would be more than happy to give you an aye vote, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
And Ms. Manalo.
I thank you so much for all the work that you've done, staff, and also for the project sponsor, for looking towards investing in Daly City and our community. We wish you all the best of luck, and hopefully you find an amazing tenant in your building very soon. And so, congratulations. Now moving on to appointments of our boards and commissions, membership committee and committee appointments. Thank you so much, Mr. Fieldings. Are there any appointments or board appointments for my college? Seeing none. Moving on to council committee reports. Council committee reports from my colleagues. Councilmember Sylvester.
Thank you, Mayor. This one's going to be very short. Mosquito vector control, nothing new to report. Everything is going along fine, but always watch out for West Nile virus. So we're doing good. Thank you.
That's wonderful news, that there's nothing to be worried about. Thank you very much. Any other council committee reports? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to city council reports, I want to share that I joined Supervisor David Canepa at his new office at 500 County Center. Gave me an official tour of the county chambers and also his office and where his staff resides. It's really a modernized building, and it's juxtaposed to the old one. You could see the difference around innovation and really being able to have more opportunities for the community to be in those chambers, and then also a lot of light and a lot of spaces in that building. And so congratulations to the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors on really looking towards having an innovative building for the community and for the workers. I also went on a study tour with the San Mateo County Family Justice Center. And what this is a collaborative environment where multiple services for victims of family violence, where it's really creating and making sure it's easier for them to have a comprehensive support, where it's aimed to bringing key stakeholders to discuss really the opportunity to make sure it's all the resources for those victims in family violence have wraparound services in one area. And so, you know, it was really eye-opening to hear some of the service models that are around there in the country. And there's really an opportunity for San Mateo County to create a justice center where something was very insightful when they talk about when victims are healing. One of the key factors that they need is hope, you know, and looking at having hope, and it's bringing in, you know, whether it's we talked about mental health support, legal support in one area, as well as having language access. I mean, all these different arenas, wellness, you know, really sometimes very traumatic for individuals, even having childcare in these spaces when family have to speak to whether it's an investigator or whatnot, but even having that access to someone watching their children in the same space. So it's really looking at this type of model, and it was really wonderful to kind of hear what work is to be done. Of course, Cora was there, and also other organizations such as Alice, and you know, the representatives such as Supervisor Noelia Corzo and many other elected officials and also service providers that were there really to hear, and also I would say those that are in the legal fields that support these victims, as well as you know, our police officers that many times call, you know, really respond to these types of calls. And so looking forward to see the outcome. They're just really doing a comprehensive look at what will San Mateo County Family Justice Center look like, because every community needs something different as far as like what are the needs around, right? And it's curtailed around hearing from the community members, service providers, and really creating that safe space for healing. Also went to the Burlington ribbon cutting. For those of you watching, we do have now 2 Burlingtons in Daly City. Not just one, but 2. And so that was really wonderful to see that we have another Burlington. And then also that it was the 100th anniversary of our neighbor next door, Colma, where it's good to be alive in Colma. And so 100 anniversary is not no small feat. And so it was really wonderful to be there. I brought my children, and also were able to see the wonderful also museums that they had open. They had a trade museum and also the museum of within the history of the town of Colma, which originally was Lawndale. I learned some history. And then there was a Lawndale in Southern California, so they had to revert back to Colma. Yeah, I know. But that was really nice. And then also attended Camp Unity their 2024 luau, which was really wonderful to see so many youth and young folks that attended their summer program. I was there with Councilmember Praño. I also attended Bishop. It's an organization in San Francisco. Their 15th anniversary was able to help build that organization. Many moons ago, I was the first program coordinator to help find individuals and families to find affordable housing and sustain their housing. And so to see it thrive for 15 years was really wonderful. I was very sad to attend Corazon Dandan's viewing and funeral, but within community, it was also a collective of everyone being there for their family, and the friends of Corazon Dandan, who tragically died from, unfortunately, when she was on her way home to take the BART station where she was pushed towards the tracks. And so it was, I know, for the family, really surrounded by the community was something that they really appreciated. And I wanted to echo to all of those that have been giving them their prayers, as well as just their thinking of them during this tragic time. So thank you very much. I want to share with everyone some upcoming events in our community. Here in Daly City, we will have our inaugural Samoan flag raising ceremony this Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Also, I wanted to share that on that very same day, there is a self-defense workshop in collaboration with Positively Filipino and the Filipino Bayanihan Resource Center, as well as us outreaching with the City of Daly City to provide self-defense classes. And so if you're interested, please, you'll find the information on our social media and our website to sign up. It is a course, I think 10, 11, 12, 1. That's 3 hours, a course around situational awareness and also making sure, you have some self-defense strategies out there. So that is free. So if you'd like to sign up, please do. And I think that's all of, August 10th, for all of you that are watching, we are going to have our Daly City Hip Hop Day at our War Memorial. At War Memorial was really where a lot of DJs came to battle, meaning compete, as well as break dancers would come in. And, it was really an opportunity for youth to do something during that time. And it evolved around really a lot of their passion. And now we have world-renowned DJs that come from Daly City, whose roots are from Daly City. And with those pioneers would like to give back to our community. And literally, there's going to be a breakdancing championship, taking it back to the roots where War Memorial, many youth have actually gone to. So it's teaching the next generation. It's going to be really exciting. I hope to see you there. And we have many other events, so if you please join us. We're looking forward to see you all. I think that's all that I have on my end. Vice Mayor?
Yes, I just arrived from the Philippines last week. I just want to give a really big shout out for the inaugural Philippine Study Abroad program at Skyline College. I want to thank Acting President Nguyen Orante for planting the seed 3 years ago. I also want to have a special thank you to the President's Council for helping us find some scholarships for our students to just offset some costs I also wanted to thank my colleague, Dr. Liza Orpello, for coming with me. She taught the Filipino American Literature course, and I taught a course on borders and crossings, and it gave like a historical context about Filipino migration, personal, local, and global movements. And then Dr. Liza Orpello taught about a book by Mia Alvor that talked about overseas Filipino workers, and it was probably one of the most enriching experiences I ever gone through, and it wouldn't have been possible without our students out there. Um, a handful of them are from Daly City, and a lot of them were able to go back to the ancestral countries and really take what we learned in the classroom and see it for themselves. And then I also want to give a big shout out to also University of Philippines Diliman, the University of Cordilleras, the folks in Baguio and in Metro Manila that was able to show us around and provide that enriching experience for my students. And yeah, I'm just really, really, really. I told my students that at 45 years old, I was deeply impacted, and I can't even imagine if I was 18, 19 years old going through that experience. I never had that experience in undergrad to go education abroad. I see that we have youth in the crowd, so if you ever get a chance, go study abroad. I really, 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 really emphasize that because the world is your classroom, and I think that if you have a different perspective, going outside of your comfort zone and learn about different perspectives in different countries, it gives you a more holistic understanding of the world.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. It was a really amazing to see all of your photographs, all of your day to day, and it's so wonderful that you started this inaugural program for the youth. That's going to be very impactful. I do want to add, I want to say thank you so much to our staff. First and foremost, to our city manager and Leilani Ramos, as well as all of the city manager staff who helped put on our sister city events that had transpired early today. I know that it's been over a year in the making, and it is not a small feat. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that, all the staff that had participated and put their work in. I think it was really successful. And I also want to acknowledge the Arts and Culture Commission, who helped put on the arts exhibit. A lot of the art, well, all of the artwork up there are from our sister city, but they were able to help put it up and curate it. And so that just looks at how we are able to work across the globe, not only across the city, but I really wanted to acknowledge all of you for the hard work that was done. Angie, Charlie, Rihanna, thank you for helping the city manager for executing this. It only says that maybe next year we can visit our sister city, but they have invited us for the Osaka and also the US-Japan summit that they're having. But it was really wonderful because when I saw the mayor look at the art pieces from his community and walk by, he was really touched to see it here in the rotunda. It was something that he shared, that thank you for sharing the artwork coming from his town, his city, here in our community. So thank you very much. And yeah, it was a fun-filled day. And thank you to all those that joined us, as well as was able to be with us for our Key to the City ceremony this evening. And with that, that was my last addition. Councilmember Puano.
I won't take but a second. I just want to remind anybody who's still watching of the great opportunity. If you go to dalycity.org and you look for a purple box, and you'll find so many resources there. And I just want to congratulate the city staff in putting that together. It is amazing what you can find, from healthcare to transportation to discounts, and everything in between. So I want to congratulate the staff, and I want to recommend to people that are watching, or the people here, that if someone's looking for something, you can find it in the purple box on the front page of the dalycity.org. I'd like to thank City Manager. I'd like to thank the staff. I know it was a huge effort, but what a success. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that update, Councilmember Puano. Any other city council reports?
I'll wait till next time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now moving on to staff.
Through the chair, thank you.
Yes.
I would just like to add not only my staff and the others that contributed, but maintenance staff played a big part in actually executing the event. So just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge them as well out of Public Works. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you so much, all those involved. Did you say Public Works? Wonderful. Thank you to all that involved with Public Works. And at this point of our agenda, we will be adjourning in memory. I'd like to ask if my colleagues have any. I think Councilmember Sylvester, I'll yield you the floor.
Oh, great. Good to go. Thank you, Mayor. I have two that I would like to adjourn in memory. The first is Darlena Slade. She was born on July 24th, 1921, in Elberton, Georgia. She was one of, looks like 4 or 5 siblings, and she attended Blackwell Memorial School before marrying the love of her life by the name of Leon. And at that time, Leon was drafted, and you know how the saying go west, young man. So they came west to Los Angeles before settling in San Francisco. They lived in Hunters Point on Navy Road when they expanded their family, had 2 children, Barbara and Michael, and in 1955, they moved to Houth Street in San Francisco. One of the siblings, Michael, was my partner in my previous career. During the early years in San Francisco, she worked at the Hunters Point Naval Shipyard in warehousing and shipping before eventually becoming a nurse assistant at French Hospital, now known as Kaiser Gary, for 35 plus years. I have more here, but everything is important, but I'm going to the highlights, and I think it's important to know. One part here, everyone who crossed paths with Darlena know that she was fairly independent, strong-willed, and have a deep desire to live a vibrant life, which recalls me to an incident when I ran into Mrs. Slade at Costco. And you know when you go to Costco, you roll out your cart, they check your receipts, make sure you got everything you're supposed to have. Well, she would put everything in shopping bags and go outside. And I says, Mrs. Slade, you know, they have to check all that. Oh, they know me. Okay. And she loved to cook. I remember Thanksgiving, we would traverse San Francisco, half the district, statute of limitations is over. We would traverse half the district to go out of our district to go eat at her house, and she made some sweet potato pie, some pound cake, pecan pie, and gumbo. And if we didn't do that, I'd be there the next day, and all I do is turn my head, hey, you got some more? And I would get more. So that's what I'm going to miss her a lot about her. And as per her family, they couldn't have asked for a much better matriarch, role model, and friend. She will be missed every day. Thank you. The next item I have is Leon M. Manalo. Happens to be the dad of another partner who I trained, his wife's dad. Leon Manalo was born in 1934 in San Francisco. He was one of 5 brothers. They grew up in the Fillmore area and North Beach. He attended Galileo High School, and he was also part of the Naval Reserve. He had love for the 49ers and the Giants. He loved to play the clarinet. He was a bowler, he was a fisherman, and he was a chef. But one thing I found out about him that I find amazing, in his 90 years, he never got a driver's license. He took public transportation, he walked, and he rode a bicycle. 90 years. Amazing. So rest in peace, Mr. Manalo. And that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sylvester. Vice Mayor.
Yes, I'd like to adjourn in memory on behalf of my uncle, who is my dad's brother. His name is Leo Vigildo Saviejo Magbual, born in Badoc, Ilocos Norte on September 14, 1942, and he passed on July 18, 2024. He graduated with a bachelor's in agriculture. He's survived by his wife, my Auntie Julie, and his 4 kids and 8 grandchildren. He was a very kind, compassionate, and family man that supported my father, all of his siblings, all of his kids. I know that he lived in Guam and Las Vegas, and then he retired in the Philippines. And I just want to really extend my love to our families, and rest in peace, Uncle.
Mayor.
Condolences, Vice Mayor. Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Yeah, so there was a sudden passing of someone we know, his mom. Her name is Mom Leah. She's the mom of Teresa Fapua, who's our Vice Chair of Planning Commission, and also who's on the Bayshore School District. It was pretty sudden, but I'll have more details at the next meeting to let everybody know. And so it's really sad. So thank you very much. And also in the memory of our Sergeant Alex, we recently had the anniversary of his passing. And I know that's something that most of us, and I believe Mr. Sylvester knew him as well when he passed. So my hearts go out to our Daly City PD. And there's always tough loss, but I think that Alex was one of the toughest loss for our department and for those who love him in San Bruno Police Department and all throughout the agencies in Daly City. So condolences. Thank you.
Thank
you, Mayor.
Thank you. Also will adjourn in memory of Lilia Andaya Pagulo. Lilia Andaya Pagao, mother to groundskeeper Alfredo Arqueza. And now let us all have a moment of silence to honor all of that.